Hello guys, welcome here to another edition, the season finale of Out of Turn 4 today here on YouTube and Facebook Watch. So I had a lot of excitement. You could tell I just finished watching the race live for once. So before I begin, I just want to offer my condolences, offer my thoughts and prayers to Joe Gibbs Racing, Joe Gibbs, Ty Gibbs, the entire family, for the loss of Coy. Of course, Coy Gibbs, if you didn't know, he was at the track on Saturday, watched Ty Gibbs win the title, and unfortunately passed away in his sleep that night. So, my sincere condolences to his family, my sincere prayers, and because of that, I just want to make clear at the beginning of the episode, I did have a full recap of the NASCAR Xfinity Series championship race and kind of my thoughts on everything that transpired or didn't transpire. I am going to reserve those comments for another day. I'm going to reserve them maybe for next season. I just feel that in this time, with everything going on in the Gibbs family, a lot of fans are hurting, a lot of, his family's hurting, obviously. I just don't feel that this platform at this time is the right time to make those comments. And so with that, I'm going to kind of breeze over the Xfinity. I'm still going to talk about the Xfinity Series. I want to make clear, we're still going to talk about the championship because that's our job here, but we are going to kind of, steer away from the negative aspect of it, and we're just going to focus on the race itself as opposed to, my thoughts on all that. So we're just going to focus on what happened. We're not going to focus on the thoughts and the analysis from my end. Again, we'll save that probably for our season premiere in a couple of months. But with that, let's start with NASCAR at Phoenix. Zane Smith, he wins the truck race. He wins the title. His fourth win of the season, his seventh career victory, his first championship, and a first ever championship for Bob Jenkins and Front Row Motorsports. Congratulations to that team. Zane, I believe this is his third championship 4 appearance. Of course, he's going to have a bright future ahead of him. He'll be in the Cup Series Daytona 500, attempting to qualify in a third Front Row Motorsports vehicle. He'll also be running quite a few races in the NASCAR Cup Series next year. Well-deserved for Zane. He's been kind of the guy that's dominated the early part of the year. He went a little quiet mid-season, didn't win many races. Really wasn't, it looked like it was going to head Chandler Smith's way. And maybe Ty Majeski's way, entering Phoenix. To me, I had that feeling. It was going to lean in Chandler Smith and Ty Majeski's favor. And unfortunately, it didn't quite go that way for them. They unfortunately fell just short. But for Zane Smith, of course, he wins the championship, and he gets Ford a championship, so I'm even happier about that, seeing that Ford's numbers have been just so low in the lower series, or non-existent in the lower series. So congratulations to Zane. He gets the job done, and he'll get to run again to defend his title next year, something we don't see very often in the lower series anymore. So Zane Smith will battle once again. One guy we don't know will be battling where. We have a great idea where he'll be battling, and it'll probably be in the Cup Series next year. But Ty Gibbs, again, condolences to him, but he won the championship at Phoenix. I'm just glad Coy got to celebrate with him before he passed. Seventh career win, his first title, or seventh win this season, his 11th career win, and his first NASCAR Xfinity Series title in his first full season. He was very dominant most of the year. I know he made a lot of enemies, but it seems like he persevered, and congratulations to him again. The rest of my thoughts I'm not going to state today. I just don't feel this is a good time to do it while the family's grieving, and a lot of race fans are grieving the loss of Coy, so we're not going to go into greater detail other than that. We will go into great detail, though, about the Cup Championship that just finished up, and I'm actually watching it on Peacock right now. First off, thanks to NBC for two things. One's sarcastic and one's the truth. One, thanks for, completely interrupting the championship for driver intros. Shut off the damn mics, okay? Or just tell your analysts to shut the fuck up. Seriously. While, we're trying to listen to the driver intros, they're sitting there talking the whole time, saying, oh, this guy's the guy to beat. Let them finish and then give your thoughts, okay? I'm sorry, that's just me, and it might be just me being a Karen, but, that kind of stuff bothers me. But I do want to say thank you to NBC, though, on a serious note, for not cutting over to Football Night in America the second the clock hit 7, and not telling anybody, because I'm watching on Peacock now, and it's 7:45 at night. So the fact that we made it, even the fact that they let it run 3 minutes late, says all we need to know. So thanks NBC for at least not screwing this one up like you have 20,000 other times. But Joey Logano, he is your NASCAR Cup Series champion. His second career championship, his 31st career win. Keep in mind, this is the first time ever, and I didn't know this is the first time ever that Roger Penske has secured both an IndyCar and a NASCAR Cup Series championship in the same season. Congratulations to Joey. A little background. I liked Joey Logano at first. I didn't know if he was quite Cup ready at Joe Gibbs Racing, and I kind of agreed with those people. He just didn't look like he was ready. I had said, maybe a year in Xfinity will do him justice. Then, of course, Team Penske scooped him up. But before that, of course, he had many run-ins with, Denny Hamlin. I was on his side with that one. The Tony Stewart thing, didn't quite agree with. The Martin Truex thing, just watching him, mature. Basically what I'm getting at is I didn't quite, I liked him at first. I kind of thought he was a little bit of a pushover at Joe Gibbs. Then he goes to Team Penske. He becomes this, you hit me, I'm going to hit you twice as hard guy in the early years. And I'm like, oh, I don't agree with that. Like, straight up dumping Truex to make the championship, didn't agree with that. I actually lost respect for him there. I didn't like Logano for quite a bit of that because he would, pick fights on the track and then wouldn't defend it off the track. But now, in the last few years, at least this year, he's earned my respect. Not just, by his racing actions, but by, again, I watched him in Watkins Glen. He had nothing but respect for the fans. And, seeing how he treats the fans is just, to me, I'm going to gain respect for you if you have respect for the fans, regardless of how I feel you race. And he's done exactly that. So that's why I'm happy about this, but man, I'm so upset. I wanted Ross so bad. And then, if I didn't want Ross, I wanted Chase Elliott pretty bad. So, but unfortunately, Chase Elliott got involved, kind of went down to block Ross Chastain, and I don't think he saw that the nose of Ross's car was already there. And unfortunately, he went for a spin. But can I just say, after this race, I lost so much respect. Or I lost quite a bit of respect for Rick Hendrick and Hendrick Motorsports, man. Let your drivers speak their minds. Come on. I hate these, I hate that the PR people get to the cars before these guys can interview, Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, I'm sure he was upset at Ross. I'm sure he had a lot to say about the situation, and it's just clear that they got to, it's clear what Jeff Gordon said to him, don't be mentioning anything negative that could, make Hendrick Motorsports look bad. So just go out there and just say how your team did well and it was a good year and, yada, yada, yada. And that's exactly what he did. He basically played that card when he was asked about the Ross Chastain incident. And I just don't like that. I'd rather hear what the driver actually thinks about the incident. I don't want to hear him crying per se, but I certainly want to hear their thoughts on the incident and not just dodge the question entirely. Of course, Chase Elliott came in fourth in the championship. I believe he finished 3 laps down, well out of it. Then Christopher Bell finished in third in the championship. A mishap on pit road unfortunately costed him a shot. He definitely had the speed. He was really the only car that I saw that had the speed to keep up with Joey Logano late in the race. So clearly late in the race they had the right plan. They just unfortunately got screwed by pit road. Then Ross, just ran out of time. He was there, he was faster, just ran out of time, and he had the track space, but it's unfortunate. But Ross came home second. He was humble about it. I think he could be a champion in the future if he keeps working hard, and so does Trackhouse. Trackhouse definitely emerged out of nowhere. They were kind of that Cinderella team this year. So it's good to see them, finish at least second in the championship. It's good for the team. It's good for, pulling in sponsors especially. And they can only go up from here. That's the big thing. But as far as, Christopher Bell, again, I kind of wish the pit, his pit crew didn't screw him there because, man, he was right there. But, certainly he'll be a force to be reckoned with in the future. But for Logano, did anybody challenge him at all that race besides Ryan Blaney? It seems like the Fords just came in with a plan. They came ready to go. And there were so many Fords. There were so many Fords around Joey Logano. Mainly Ryan Blaney. That were just not going to let Ross or Christopher Bell get there. Or Chase Elliott, for that matter. There were just so many guys that wouldn't let them get there and have that, challenge them for that position. So all I can say there is, good job to them. They worked together as a team. They came prepared and they got the job done. Again, wish it was a lot closer, though. I felt like, Ross there at the end. I thought if we got an overtime, and I'm sitting there like, come on, there's got to be an overtime. You can't end the season in regulation. And it just didn't materialize, unfortunately. But congratulations to Joey Logano. He wins his second title. He's the first 2-time champion, or he joins Kyle Busch as the only 2-time champion in series history. Or in the active driver category, oh my goodness. You could tell I'm tired, guys, but he's, the only other active 2-time champion, the other one being Kyle Busch, which, congratulations to Logano, and this statement's going to rile up a bunch of fans, but let's face it, now Logano is the face of the sport because, I'm sorry, I don't think Kyle Busch's championship was legitimate. I just don't think he should have gotten the waiver. I think you should get a waiver. If you miss a couple races, big deal. You miss 10 or 11, you miss a third of the season, you shouldn't get a waiver. But, so I don't really consider Kyle Busch's title run in 2015 anything significant or anything big. I consider, Logano's definitely, well-deserved. He wasn't anywhere in the battle. Really, I'm sorry. They just said something on there. I might have to backtrack on Peacock after we're done here. But, yeah, thoughts on the weekend? The truck race is probably the best race of the weekend. You couldn't pass in the Cup Series, The Xfinity race you could pass, but the Cup Series, they got to work on something with these short ovals. Short ovals and road courses, they got to work on the package for that. And, they'll have a nice 3 months to do so can't wait to see what they do. All right. I'll give my final grade on the season at the end of the episode, but let's move on to the news. Jimmie Johnson is back in NASCAR. That's right, the 7-time champion. He's going to be joining Petty GMS as an owner and will compete part-time in 2023, starting with the Daytona 500. He has not announced the rest of his schedule, though. But he will, of course, as a part-timer, have to run as an open car. And mind you, at Daytona, he will not have a champion's provisional. And the reason I bring that up is the Daytona 500 right now, based on how things look. As far as the open teams, now we know Ty Gibbs, we know but we don't know that Ty Gibbs is going to be in the 18 next year. So that's, really the last puzzle piece of the silly season that needs to be figured out. Because I imagine that Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell will be back at Front Row Motorsports next year, barring any unusual circumstance. So, that said, as far as the open teams, Austin Hill, he's going to be in the 62 for Beard Motorsports. Zane Smith is going to be in a Front Row Motorsports car. I imagine, sorry, thought it cut out for a second. So we know those two will be there. Jimmie Johnson will be there. That's 39 cars. Project 91 at the Daytona 500, that's a possibility. But as far as the confirmed, there's 3 confirmed rides that are open rides for the 500 right now, with the potential for many others. You never know about the money team, 3F Racing. Like I said, Project 91, where will Elio land? That's the other question, because Elio is potentially going to run the Daytona 500. I know that's been in negotiations. It might happen, it might not. Maybe Kimi Räikkönen in the Daytona 500. That would be something. Hesselberg, Team Hesselberg will more than likely be there with 1, if not 2 cars. So that could push the entry list to 42, 43 cars right now. And not having that champion's provisional doesn't guarantee Jimmie Johnson a spot, but I can almost bet this, he will probably get in. I imagine he should not have an issue getting in. But the main thing will be Austin Hill. I think Austin Hill's going to get in no problem, based on right now. Again, we'll have those predictions when we get closer to the Daytona 500. But, certainly going to be some obstacles at Daytona, but can't wait to see Jimmie Johnson back. It's good for the sport, good for Petty GMS to get an owner in there that, regardless of what you think of his 7 championships, and I certainly have my thoughts on it, but, he's a 7-time champion. He's an accomplished race car driver, and, having his opinion will be big for that team. Moving on to KBM. Of course, KBM completed their last Truck Series race as a Toyota team. They are now a Chevrolet team. And, of course, they will downgrade to a 2-truck operation starting in 2023. Chase Purdy, he will be the driver of the number 4 full-time, with Kyle Busch and Jack Wood splitting time in the number 51. They will have a 3rd driver to round out the schedule in 2023, but that driver has yet to be determined. Iffy lineup for a team that's probably going to experience a lot of growing pains switching over to Chevy. That's really all I got to say about that. It's an iffy lineup. I just don't think Chase Purdy's that guy that's going to compete for a title. I hope he proves me wrong, but I just don't see it at this point. Jack Wood's been iffy at best at KBM or at GMS. I just don't know. Looks like it's going to be a rough year for KBM unless Kyle Busch is in the 51. So that's my thoughts on that. All right, some big F1 rumors. Of course, Nicholas Latifi, he is out of a ride in F1 at Williams. But nonetheless, he will be driving somewhere, just not in F1. The rumors have been swirling about IndyCar, which of course he laughed and kind of said that's funny, but he has not decided where he's going to race next year. First two thoughts, IndyCar, I'm sorry, but when a Formula One driver moves over to or leaves F1, first instinct is always going to be he's going to IndyCar. But now I think the second instinct is, he's going to drive a race for Project 91 or for Hesseberg, in the case of Daniel Kvyat, or Kvyat, or however you pronounce it. But those are always going to be the first two thoughts. Maybe he'll run an IMSA or Trans Am. Maybe IMSA would be the more likely destination for Latifi. I don't know. I'd like to see him run IndyCar. I think it'd be good for him, good for his team. But I think Project 91 is definitely on the table for Latifi. It'll be fun to see exactly where he ends up in 2023. Well, my final thoughts now on the racing season. I thought IndyCar was okay. I think I gave my final thoughts on that when the season ended. But as far as the NASCAR season, the truck season, it was pretty good. It was okay. That one I might give like a B- to. The Xfinity Series, all the drama with Ty Gibbs, again, I don't want to lay into him too much or, give my full thoughts on it, being what happened this week. But in terms of racing quality, the Xfinity Series, again, probably better than the Cup Series. I got to give it an A- for sure. And then going to the Cup Series, the first year of the next-gen car, we had 19 different winners, tied for the most all-time in a season. B- or B+. I got to give the Cup Series a B+. I think, honestly, it was a really good year to be a NASCAR fan. Again, the issues with the next-gen, that's what dragged the grade down, but the parity that we saw. Trackhouse making the championship 4. We didn't expect that. Chase Elliott dominated most of the year, and I'm telling you, race 24, race 25, I was sitting here and I'm like, man, no one's going to touch Chase Elliott when the playoffs start. He's got the next gen figured out. I don't want to say I was wrong. I just want to say that, ultimately it came down to the last race. And, it just wasn't Chase's day, unfortunately. But nonetheless, it was quite a season. It was a fun one. It was our first ever. Keep in mind, this is, of course, out of Turn 4, season number 2. We did come along midway through last season. We came along, early to mid-season last year over here on TSE. Then, of course, we went the full season this year. This was a lot of fun, to be honest, and I'm enjoying doing this. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. But I just want to say, thanks to everyone who made Season 2 possible. Thanks to Jason Marty for promoting this constantly on No Final Bell, as we try to do here for them as well. No Final Bell, tune in tomorrow. A lot of fun stuff they're going to discuss. This show, keep in mind, we will be back, but we will not be on in the winter time. So, of course, the only thing going on is F1 right now. We don't want to talk F1 on this show. You know my thoughts on F1. But we should be back in late January, early February. We might talk some Rolex 24 Hours. We might have a show for that. We might have a show, or we will have a show for the Clash at the Coliseum, more than likely. And then, of course, the week after, have our NASCAR season preview and, all that. So we should be back in January, February. But until then, we're going to be on break. We thank you for watching. Again, tune in to No Final Bell tomorrow and Sunday Morning Tinkle on Sunday. Stay tuned to our social media. We'll have a lot of NASCAR news still going up. Check out my social at Tinkle_BHummel. And I will see you guys. If you don't watch those shows, first off, there's to you. And then, of course, we will see you in February. Until then, goodbye, everyone.